Good day, everybody. Today we want to talk about how to create this effective, collaborative relationship between management and unions. It is, of course, fraught with controversy, mainly because both sides are trying to angle for something that's better, trying to angle for more. That's existed for many years. The smart unions and the smart organizations realize that only collectively can they achieve the greatest of their ambitions. So as we talk about how to create this type of collaborative atmosphere, we'll focus on several key strategies. First, the company. What we mean by the company is that every decision has to be framed in the context of what's best for the company. Is it good for the company to spend all their money on employees and very little on research and development? That may be good for employees in the short term, for the employees that work here today, but it may not be beneficial in the long term. Investment's important. Yes, you need to invest in your employees, but you also need to invest in your product or your service. And so, the first strategy is to ensure that everything that's done, every action that's taken, every decision that's made, has to be looked in the context, in the frame of, is this going to advance the interests of the organization? Frankly, some decisions are going to advance management more, and maybe some are going to advance employees more. But for management to make a decision that will influence and advantage them in the future to the detriment of employees, that may not be the best for the organization. So you must look at what's best for the organization. Second, future employment. This is one that we often don't see. And what do we mean by future employment? If you're a union, the first thing that you should look at is, how am I going to be able to offer employees more jobs in the future? Your current employees would certainly want more monies and more benefits. However, it can often come at the expense of later employees and later employment. And so you need to look as a union and as a manager as to what is going to guarantee the perpetuation of this organization. It may mean that employees may not get as big of an increase, get as big of benefits. It may mean, in fact, that they may have to sacrifice a bit while the organization builds a product, builds a service, that over the longer term is going to offer more employees more success. Second is future employment. Third is that you rarely need and rarely become successful by not looking at the industry as a whole. And what we mean by that is, industries change so dramatically. What happens today is that management looks at industry, but unions don't look at the industry as much as they should. They should have as much emphasis, as much of their strategy should be dedicated towards preparing their employees for the industry of the future, not the industry of today. For the employees and for their union, that means that they have to look at what are the knowledge and skills and abilities that are needed to compete in that industry and in that organization. And unions have to devote their strategies, their time, their effort, and even their money to ensuring that their employees are as prepared for that future as they could be. We're hearing today that employees have to develop their own research and development account. That means that the employees must invest in themselves. In times previous, 20 and 30 years ago, management and organizations paid for employees to develop their skills. That's not happening anymore, mainly because employees go from job to job. The average person is in their same organization for less than 6 years. Organizations don't want to spend a lot of money on an employee that's not going to be around for a long period of time. So we see that employees and their unions need to create their own research and development account to make sure that they're best prepared for the future. And one other aspect that I would say, and that is this concept of value. What do we mean by value? That means in order to have a conducive relationship, each side has to bring value to the table. An organization has to bring value of knowing where they're going and knowing how to get there. They have to know that the employees are a valuable resource and that they should treat them as fair as possible. Fair and equal are key terms in how you treat people. From a union, they must realize that their wages and benefits have to be in line with the industry. If they charge too much, management may look at other options because it's simply too expensive and they may not be able to compete. Organizations have to have competitors as well. Many of those competitors are overseas in other countries that have lower standards of living and pay their workers less. It becomes difficult to compete when you have to pay your workers so much more. This concept of value really drives a relationship. Both sides realize that they can get greater value by taking advantage of what each has to offer and then collectively pulling those advantages, then the organization will benefit. The employees likewise would benefit, and the industry would benefit. Value is an important concept. With that, I hope everybody has an outstanding week.